Nexxlegacy.
Fenty Beauty by Rihanna was created with the promise of inclusion for everyone, with an unmatched offering of shades and colors for all skin tones. You'll never look elsewhere for your beauty staples. Danaya Azure Radio is now sponsored by Fenty Beauty. Browse their foundation line, lip colors, and so much more. All you have to do is go to www.danayaazure.com. That's www.danayaazure.com. And click on the link that says Nexxlegacy Fenty.
Nexxlegacy.
Hey, this is Tre Mosely, and you are tuned in to the Danaya Azure Radio.
Hello, Tre. Good evening. How are you?
I am well. How are you, ma'am?
I am good. So I had the pleasure of meeting Tre because he was featured in HFL magazine, and I'm the lead marketing consultant over there. And
Yes.
So I just kind of looking through his story and seeing what he's done. He's done voiceovers for some amazing projects. And what I love about Tre is that even after he was featured, he was still supporting. He's still sharing. He's still reposting. I'm like, yeah, I like him. He's got some pretty awesome
for
stuff
sure.
going on.
You got to show love, man. You know, especially when you have business entities that are prominently people of color. We don't always get that love. So if I can show love and give love, it's like, hey, y'all need to go check it out. So I'm always doing my best to try to support those who support me. And even if you ain't supporting me, I want to see that person do what they do. It's like, oh man, I didn't know he was even checking us out like that. Well, let's show him love. And then it just, the dominoes start to fall.
Yes, it is absolutely a beautiful circle. So how did you originally get into voiceover?
Well, then, the question everyone wants to know. It's such a, I'm not going to say it's such a long answer. It has many different pockets. I grew up in Miami, which is where I'm originally from, born and raised. I'm a 305 boy. And, I grew up like every other kid. We had our Transformers and G.I. Joes, and we doing all kind of little voices, have our tape recorder, and we out there making productions and didn't know what the hell we was doing. But my mom was a school teacher for over 30 years. And she used to have me read in poetry contests and speaking contests and all this stuff. So even though I had a lot of stage fright, I was used to speaking in front of people. Is also where I first learned how to code switch, because, being a teacher's kid and living in an area where you're surrounded by the projects, but all my friends lived in the projects. So I knew if I wanted to go hang out with my boys, I had to make sure I was cool enough to hang with them. But then when my mama called me and I'm around her friends, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. But I'm with the boys. I'm like, hey, man, what's going on, dog? So I had, from an early age, I knew I had to switch it up even before I knew what it was. I just knew that was
exactly right, because we used to call the phone voice. Remember?
Yeah,
that's right. I remember. I was like, Mom, why is your voice different? And she's like, no, this is your phone voice. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I had a phone voice, and my friend was like, why you sound so proper? I'm like,
right.
Like I didn't understand what that meant, and until I started hanging around them, and now we all talking slang. I'm like, yeah, man, because I'm finna and ain't. But then when I'm home, like I'm about to go outside.
Right. Right. I'm going to do XYZ.
Yeah. I'm about to, because I'm finna. I'm like, ooh, yeah. So, I learned that at an early age, but it wasn't until when I left Florida, went to DC, and and end up back in Florida. I did a lot of customer service work. And one of the things that people always liked, my work ethic, I'm going to be 1,000. I really did not like customer service. I didn't like talking to people all day because whatever mood they're in, they're going to put all that on you. And I'm like, you called for my help. But to maintain a professional demeanor, you have to be calm and say, how can I help you? Oh, I'm sorry about that. Can I have your loan number? And I'll take a look at that account and see. Like, why are you so nice? Like, why are you so mean?
Right,
I'm going to place you on a brief hold and I'll be right back. I'm like, hey, dog, why are you all the mean ones? Why I get the mean ones? You know what I'm
Right.
Y'all be switching my calls in the queue, but that's cool. Hi, yes. It looks like you are
exactly.
You're 120 days delinquent. Are you calling to make a payment? So I always had that in me.
Right.
And, like I said, I did plays and things like that, but I didn't really think about doing this as a profession. But I would always hear, like, man, you gotta, like, one of them cool voices, man. You should do something with them. Like, do what?
Right.
Why don't you do radio? I'm like, I heard DJs don't make no money. I'm like, I don't know about that. But because my uncle was in the radio business, he was a DJ locally in Miami, and he worked for the news station. So watching the news guys, that always fascinated me too, because I would hear them when they're not on the mic, and then when they're on the mic tonight, at 6 tonight at 6 on Channel 4 News, find out why. And I'm like, but he was just over here just cussing.
Exactly.
So again, I'm absorbing all this stuff, and right around 2009-ish, I was living in Jacksonville, and I was working for one of the banks there. And, I was in the process of, I'm like, everything good job. I was just about to get a house for the first time. I hadn't told nobody because I wanted to be a surprise.
Right.
And then I got laid off. I'm like, oh boy. Let me call these people. Yeah, them closing calls. I'm gonna need all that back. I'm gonna need all that back. I'm gonna need all that back, Charlotte. Because I just got laid off, so I'm gonna be in the department for a while. And what little resources I had left, I had to survive. But while I was doing that, I was home watching Netflix, watching documentaries, watching cartoons, playing games, just kind of getting my mind off of what just happened. Happened to me. And, I start remembering all those folks like, man, why don't you do something with it? I'm like, you know what? Let me go see if I can do something with this thing. So I started looking at the people at the end of the show. They'd always show who the narrator is. And at the end of the cartoons, it would show who did the voices, and start looking these people up. I'm like, dang. So this dude that was doing the narration about the Great Pyramids was also the crazy dog and such and such. I'm like, okay. And it just took a minute and went down the rabbit hole. Right. And that's kind of where it began for me. I went to Guitar Center and bought all this equipment. Didn't know how to use none of. Well, that's a lie. I knew how to use some of it, but not for voiceover. I knew my way around the microphone. I knew how to edit audio and stuff because, again, the few times I went to the TV station with my uncle, he taught me different things, but it was audio for TV. I'm like, this is just audio for audio, but the principles are kind of the same. And, I'm like, all right, I got me a mic, got me a little laptop. Now what? And didn't really know how to market myself. There was this online website, we'll help you get auditions. I'm like, all right. I paid my little subscription fee, and they would send me auditions. And some guy was like, hey man, I like your voice. I want you to do this thing. I'm like, oh, okay. This way it's at. Right. And I made like $75. But because I didn't know what folks was out there making, I'm like, well, this wasn't even 5 minutes. I made $75.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, bro, I made $75 in 5 minutes. Doing what? Just talking. Because that's what you think it is, just talking. But then after that job, wasn't no more jobs. I'm like, Nobody else want me to say nothing. I could talk some more. Hey, I
Right.
could, and it took a minute for things to take off. 2012, I had to go back into the workforce because the little money I had saved up, I was temping, but I didn't want to go back into a permanent job. So I was temping just to keep a little change coming in, um, and still trying to get this off the ground. But I'm like, this money getting low. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go on and hop back to it. So I went back into the workforce, but the auditions were still coming. So I would be in the car. And if anybody live in Florida around this time of year, you don't want to be in the car with the AC off. But I couldn't record with the AC on because it's gonna go
Right.
into the microphone. So I'm sitting there with the mic all like this here
Oh my
in the car,
goodness.
and 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, it might be already 92 degrees. So I'm sweating. I come back in the office. They're like, bro, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I was in the car.
Yeah.
Had to I had to record. You still trying to do that? I'm like, yeah. Can I get some water first before we talk? Cause dog, I need a minute.
Right.
And just kept grinding with it, man. And it between 2012 and I say 2015, there was some progress. I'm like, all right, they paid me $300 for that. They paid me $500 for that. Now we getting somewhere. But I still didn't know how to market myself. I had a little website. Well, I'm not gonna say little. I ain't gonna diminish my website. I worked hard on that by myself because my friends who knew HTML did not want to share the wealth and either show me or help me.
Right.
That's all. But I digress. And I'm like, I'm gonna just sit up. And I sat up till like 3, 4 in the morning putting together this website. And I'm like, hide is out here. And I would get little nibbles here and there, but nothing on the scale that, what I'm doing now. But I just paid my dues, man. I got told no a lot of times. Still get told no, but not as much now. But yeah, maybe then for every 30, 40 auditions, I might have booked one job. Now that ratio has shrunk considerably, and I'm good with that. But it was just a long process. There were a few times that I wanted to give up. I wanted to just quit, sell my equipment, and be done with it. But there were people who came into my life that was like, bro, you can't do that, man. Like, you might be the one that make it for us. So like my boys was like, nah, dog, keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then a young lady who I had a relationship with in the past resurfaced, and she and I reconnected, but it wasn't like I was trying to get with her. Just like, hey, friend, what's going on? I said, I don't want no trouble. Just two old friends talking because I know you married. She's like, well, not no more. Oh, for real? I mean, oh man, I'm so sorry. Damn, oh boy. And we developed but we always had a good friendship. That was never the case. It was the relationship part. When she was ready, I wasn't. I was still out there, doing. I'm like, yeah, this ain't it. I'm like, all right, I'm ready. She's like, too late. My golly. So struck out on that for 6 years, but in 2016, 2017, I'm sorry, no, it was 16 because 17 hadn't happened yet. We started talking again, and like I said, just as friends. And but over time, things develop and feelings start being felt again. I'm like, am I still digging this chick? Okay, we gonna see where it goes. Long story short, after Hurricane Matthew, was it Matthew? I think it was Matthew. Well, Florida they be hurricane.
Y'all got a bunch of them, child.
Yeah. So, so this one particular storm, and I think it was Matthew. She came to get me because where I was, power was out, my car was towed up, and she's like, well, my mom don't stay too far from where you are. I can come over there and swing and get you. scooped me up, went to her mom's crib. Her mom was out of town. We got there, AC was blowing, cool. I'm like, okay, we gonna be straight. 10 minutes later, poof, power goes off. I'm like, oh.
Dang.
But she stuck with me, and I told her all what I was trying to do. And, she was very instrumental in keeping me on the straight and narrow, because there were a few times I'm like, this ain't it. And I was headed to the pawn shop. She's like, where you going? I'm like, I'm about to sell all of it. It ain't working. And she stopped me and was like, look, I got us until I can't. So whatever you trying to do, go do it with no pressure. That's hard for especially a black man to hear, because
Yes.
we've already been programmed and conditioned. You got to protect that woman. You got to provide for that woman. You got to
Yes.
support that woman, and now to have somebody tell me, I'm going to provide for you, I'm going to make sure you all right. And I'm like, where the cameras at for the punk? Because I
Right.
know
Am I being punked right now?
somebody
Yeah.
about to just be like, hey man, we were just playing, see an
Mhm.
actress. But no, she stuck with me. And there were some other things that happened. So every year for the past decade or so, there's this voiceover conference in Atlanta. And I was like, I ain't going to no conference. I don't want to be around nobody. She's like, well, you should go and be around your people. If you feel something while you around them, that means it's still in you. I'm like, we went, and I had a good time. And I was like, yeah, I guess I do still feel something. And there was a raffle contest to get free coaching and business consulting and all of that. And I won the raffle. And one of my heroes in voiceover was the guy who was doing the coaching. And he was like, man, Trey, you almost there. If you just do this, this, and this, and just, tweak a couple of things, I think you'll be all right in the next year or so. I'm like, all right, man, if you say so. I mean, you've been in the game 30 something years. I'm gonna do what you tell me.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And you might.
Rick Party.
No, wasn't Rick.
Shout out to Rick Party.
I
I've been
hadn't
meeting
I
him as
hadn't
well.
met
He's
Rick, and I
amazing.
didn't meet Rick until the year after. This guy, his name is Joe Cipriano. But no, Rick been that dude too. And he's helped me in ways I can't even describe. But I stuck with it. And I got my first agent that same year. And then a couple of years later, I got a major agent. I joined the union, and we've been riding ever since, man. So that's
I
the
love
story.
it. I love it. That's so amazing. And outstanding voiceover artist Tre Mosely is my guest here on Danaya Azure Radio. So talk about some of the obstacles you've had to overcome as a black man doing voiceover.
Oh boy. One of the main obstacles, and it's gotten better, but it still ain't great, is sometimes you can be categorized. They try to lump us all in one box. So I'll get an audition and they say, hey, we're looking for a voice that sounds like Donald Glover, Childish Gambino. I'm like, do I sound like Donald Glover to y'all? I don't think I sound like Donald Glover to y'all. I mean, I could probably pitch my voice up a little bit and, do something to sound, but if I'm not used to doing it, then I can't. If they tell me, okay, we need that voice for like 3 hours, you ain't going to get that.
Right. Exactly.
You might get it for 20, 30 minutes and we take a break, I'll come back. But, so that's one thing. Casting has gotten better, I think, because there are people of color that are included in the casting. Not as prevalent, but we sprinkled in there and they like, yeah, man, he can't do Donald Glover. Now, don't try me. That's not to say I can't, but don't assume either. It's kind of like, okay,
Right.
I would rather me tell you, here's my wheelhouse. Here's where it's a stretch and I can't do them at all.
Right.
If you give me that opportunity, then we can do something. That's probably been the biggest thing. And probably the important thing too, because we want representation in every area of voiceover, but we don't want to be caricatures of ourselves.
That part.
I had an audition, and not even an audition. The guy was like, "I give you the part, man. I just want you to, sound, well, boss, we gonna calm down." Like, no, no.
No, not even.
I said if you give me the context of why he's doing that,
Right.
I can do it. But if it's just for comic relief and I got your boss, no, we ain't playing them games.
Right.
And I had another one where dude was they were doing satire, religious satire. I'm like, I don't fool with religion because I don't want to offend nobody. When you start talking about God or Yeshua or whoever, and you have me saying the wrong thing, and now they like, yeah, we can't work with him because if that's how he feels. I'm like, no, that ain't how I feel. That's just for work. Nah, but you accepted the role, so you must have thought it was cool. So I was like, nope, I can't do that either, bro. I'm sorry. Right. So I've had to turn down some things. I think sometimes they feel that because of who we are, like we just gonna jump on any role. Like, no, we got standards and morals too. Yeah, we want to get paid, but I'm not just gonna do any other thing just because you think I'm desperate or starving because your boy eating. It ain't like that. Right. I try to audition for stuff that I think has I like quality versus over quantity.
Yes, absolutely.
That one job I was telling you about, he was like, I give you 8 racks for it. I'm like,
not enough.
Ain't gonna do it.
Not enough.
So that's probably the largest obstacle. And also I feel that sometimes we get not sometimes, we often get marginalized because folks don't sometimes know where to put us. I got a good friend. She never grew up in the hood. She lives in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And they will send her auditions. We want you to be sassy and so on. She's like, well, I don't talk like that. I'm still a black woman, but every black woman don't have attitude or is angry. Just like every brother ain't out here grabbing his, what's up, girl? I say, I have that in my toolbox, but that's not who I am.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's been the road has been smoothed out a little, but we still got some bumps in regards to equality in this business for folks that look like you and me.
Most definitely. So speaking of typecasting, one thing that I was just really cool, and the reason I mentioned Rick Party was because he actually shared The Specialist. And so I was like, oh, wait, Tre Mosely is doing a TV show? Got to make sure I support that. And
I'm trying to.
I'm like, I got to have him on now. Talk about The Specialist and how all that came to be.
Well, The Specialist is an animated series that I've been working on now for about a decade. The concept was made about 10 years ago. And it just kind of sat on the shelf because I came up with the concept. I'm like, all right, what am I gonna do with this? I didn't know how to draw. I didn't know how to make cartoons, and it just kind of sat there. I had all these sketches. I'm like, that's cool, that's dope, but I don't know nobody in the animation world. People I know now in voiceover, I didn't know then, so I didn't know hey, can you reach out to this person or reach out to this person? So it just kind of sat there, and a few years later, I was watching the Oscars, and this animated feature called Hair Love had won the Oscar. I'm like, oh, they like us like that? I'm like, well, maybe it's time to bring this thing back out. And I started asking people, now that I was pretty known in the industry, I'm like, hey, y'all know anybody who do animation and can do it for the low? Because
right.
I'm saying. And my homegirl Cammy was like, yeah, I know an animation company. It's brothers that do it. I'm like, okay, that's a bet. Reached out to them, and they helped me with like a 2-minute teaser trailer and then they helped me work on the pilot. But as I found out, animation ain't cheap, and I'm like, look,
At all.
I can't pay them to do the animation, and I got wife car to pay for, my car to pay for, and the house. No, something gonna have to be put on the shelf. It ain't gonna be our lifestyle, so I had to
Right.
put it on the back burner. And I've done GoFundMe's before, and have come short of the goal. But the funds that we did use, we were able to do some things, but not all the things we need to do. And I had put it back on the shelf again. Like, look, man, these folks ain't trying to. They don't want to see me be great. And I keep getting people like, hey man, I want to part in the show. I say, you know how you get a part in the show? Help me produce the show.
Mm-hmm.
So that means share it with your people, your friends. Donate $1 or $2. You ain't got to throw a rack at it unless you got it like that. But throw 5, throw 10, throw 2. Every penny gonna count till we get to the amount that we need. And some people did. Some just, oh man, let me know how it work out. All right. So I put it back on the shelf, and it started to really bother me. I'm like, I'm not gonna let these folk determine what I'm gonna do with my creation. I guess I'm gonna just start another GoFundMe, and I started another one this year. And the numbers are low, but I'm gonna keep punching until I knock it out, and that's all I can do.
I love it. So talk a little bit about it and why it was so important for you to create this.
The show is set somewhere in the not too distant future. My character is, if you took Shaft, James Bond, and maybe Batman, but no suit or costume, just a dude that's smart, that's very athletic. He might have a couple of gadgets or two, and can get out of any situation, or almost any situation, or maybe he can get out of every situation. If we fund the show, you'll find out. But he's that kind of dude. And the reason I wanted to do this, because growing up when I was a shorty, wasn't no black superheroes. I mean, you had one or two, but they weren't the lead. They weren't the ones saving the day. Black Lightning was helping Superman and whoever. Black Vulcan was helping the Justice League, but he didn't have his own show where he was running things. And the older I got, and I got into comic books and stuff, I'm like, how come we ain't had that many black heroes? I mean, we had Storm with the X-Men and Luke Cage. But the pickings were very slim, at least from my perspective. I'm like, we need a character that's real cool. He can be that dude. He can pull the ladies if he need to. Like, and he can save the world. Like, where you gonna find that at?
Right.
He ain't out there, but he right here. So that's what prompted me to bring this character and this whole world to life. And it's not just him. He has a whole team that helps him out. And I think that's what also makes it something that's worth watching, because you're not just gonna be focused on him. He has a different relationship with, like, the guy who like his tech guy. He has a different relationship with him. The chick that makes his weapons, he has a different type of relationship with her. People are trying to figure out if they're romantically involved. She wants to, but he's too focused on work. So it's things that she'll say that go right over his head, or he just ignores. And everybody else like, that girl like you. He like, man, I'm here to work. I ain't trying to get involved with nobody. I'm just trying to save the world. Mm-hmm. So it's a dynamic, kind of a will they, won't they type of thing. And then it goes a little deeper than that. He has an older brother. and their past is very muddied. So the subplot of the show is him trying to recover his past and find out what happened. Without giving away too much, there's some things that'll be revealed as the show progresses, and it's like, oh wow, didn't see that coming. So, you know, but yeah, it's something I've been wanting to do forever, and I can't wait to bring it to y'all if we get the support and show you what we're cooking over here.
I'm excited. I saw the trailer and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be fun."
Yeah, I really feel like it's the type of show that it's not going to be. There'll be some violence, there'll be some fighting, maybe a little gunplay, but it's not going to be the Expendables type violent. You know,
Right.
it's animated. We ain't trying to
It's
have
like
this.
the Incredibles type violence.
You might maybe turn up a little bit more. Somebody might get shot in the chest a little bit. Well, there ain't gonna be a gaping hole in his chest. He
Right.
might get a neck crack. You know. So okay, you can explain to your mommy what happened. Well, he's a bad man. And he had to.
Right. He had to go bye-bye. That's
But
it.
you
He
can't
was a bad man and
explain
he had to go by.
a
It's
hole in
okay.
somebody's head this big. Like, what kind of gun is that? And you need not be worrying about what kind of gun it is. Just know that Jack took care of business.
Exactly.
So
Definitely. Talk about some of the companies that you've worked with that you've done voiceover for.
wow. I have worked with HBO, the NFL, Major League Baseball, Lowe's, IBM. Wow. I'd never had to sit and think about it. Dang. Wow, that's a question. Who else? Xerox. And actually take IBM off. I was actually thinking of Xerox. It was Xerox, Lenovo, the Big Three tournament, EA Sports. I do work with the Raiders now because that's my squad. A little bit of everybody, man. ABC, WWE.
So what? Oh my goodness! So working with WWE, have you been able to go to the different shows and all that?
I haven't. They had something here in Vegas, and I was not able to attend because I would have showed been like, hey, you know, your boy right here. I didn't get a chance to go to it, but no, working with the WWE is cool. It's a cool organization, and one of my buddies, he went to WrestleMania either last year or year before last, and he sent me video. He was like, bruh, do you realize over 100,000 people hear your voice right now? And
That's
he had his
lit.
camera phone, and it was a video up that I had narrated. So I'm hearing my voice, you know, talking about one of the wrestlers. He was this tall African dude, you know, he's 7 feet tall and so on. And I'm like describing his measurements and whatnot. Like, bro, that's you. I'm like,
Wow, that's
yeah,
lit.
that's kind of dope. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, doing this job has afforded me to have my voice and image in places that I would never imagine.
That's amazing. You know, I think that, and that's what people don't understand is that the power of the voice is just incredible. I mean, hence why Clubhouse took off
Yeah,
because it was all voice.
I even
There was
got
no
some
social
jobs off
media
of
app like that.
Clubhouse. Yeah, when Clubhouse first started jumping, I would go in there and listen at first, and then if it was a room, I was like, well, I can have some input or add something to it.
Right.
I would hop in the room, and now everybody's like, hey, so what do you do? I'm like, what you mean? They say, hey, who's the dude with the voice? And I'm like, oh, y'all talking to me? Oh, I'm a voice actor. Oh, for real? That's cool. And then people started hitting me up like, hey, I got this podcast. Would you do my intro? I'm like, it ain't gonna be cheap. Well, I got like $300 I can give you just for like a 10-second line. Okay.
Right, that works. Right.
I got you. 10 seconds, $300. I got you.
Right, for
And
sure. Let's do
I
it.
got a couple of jobs of a clubhouse. And I created a clubhouse room over time. And to be honest, I'm barely on that piece, but my room is always open for people, for voice actors who want to go in there and do whatever they want to do is always open. But yeah, Clubhouse, when it first came out, and I had to hop off because it started getting crazy.
Look.
There was this room somebody created where they were reading like these erotic stories, and I just popped in to listen. Let me see what they let me see what they talking about. So I'm listening. I'm like, that's a nice little poem. Okay, that's cool. So I'm just like, hey man, y'all got some nice stuff in here. That's real cool. Now the lady's like, hey, you want to read something? I'm like, yeah, it's time to go. Y'all ain't about to get me in trouble. It's time.
Oh my gosh. So how did you get connected with Kevin Forrest?
I think he and I were on Facebook. Still are on Facebook. And again, just seeing people doing stuff, and I was just like showing support, showing love. You know what I mean? And that's really how it began. And I knew he was putting this publication out, and all of a sudden he was like, hey, I want to get you in the magazine. I'm like, me? I mean, if you want to. I didn't think I had that a compelling enough story. But you know, I did the interview and whatnot, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. I like this. I have a little scrapbook. I still got my edition. Matter of fact, I ordered some extras. I sent one to my mom, and I think my sister has one too. So I'm like, make sure the family get a couple of copies.
Absolutely, yes.
So yeah, man, it was real cool. But you know, anytime I see my people trying to do something positive, and then not only do something positive, he took the time to say, hey, I want to feature you. I'm like, all right, man, I'm in. You know, so it was a no-brainer. Anytime I get interview requests, as long as it ain't too crazy, I don't mind hopping on or sending in a questionnaire, whatever. I'm game.
Yes. And it's so funny too, because I love how I say, like, as long as that's too crazy. Because some people, they focus too much on like the 15-second, like, we got to have that viral moment, as opposed to actually doing the actual interview and like showcasing the guest.
No, you're right. I you know, even with my own podcast, you know, I talk to a lot of voice actors, but I try to make it different from. So 90% of the voiceover podcast, they will say, well, hey, what are you working on? Or is there anything you're working on you can talk about? And you know, how'd you get into voiceover? I go even deeper. You know, I have what I call the before segment. And the before segment is even before voiceover. You know, how were you as a child? What did you do? Were you in the band? Were you in the theater? Were you an only child? I like to engage and find out about who they are first.
Yes.
Before we get into, you know, how they got into voice acting, because I think, you know, these people, myself included, we get asked that all the time. Well, how'd you get into it? What are you doing? But when you have people that say, well, hey, what were you doing before you were a voice actor? Or when you're not working, how do you, you know, take time out and spend time with yourself or with your family? You know, it's questions like that. And I think they appreciate that because they're seen more as a person and not just like, hey, I was a voice in such and such video game or cartoon. Because every time we like log off and it's just I hit the record and turned the recording off, and now we just chatting afterwards. Like, man, that was real cool. I appreciate it. You asked questions that I hadn't even thought about in years. I'm like, well, that's what I try to do,
Right.
because I think people will want to hear that versus the same old, well, how'd you do it, and what happened after that. I've had people, get on the show and not only tell the good stories of voiceover, but the bad stories where they got evicted.
Because you got to be honest about it. And I think that's the
they
biggest
ran out of money.
Yeah,
got divorced. Some folks have had to deal with racism and ageism and sexism. So we try to cover as much about the person, the real side of them, before we talk about the voiceover part. So.
And I think that's why I love the way when I asked you that question, you went back into the long version of it and talked about being a child. And I was like, see, that's how you do it. Because you always want to have those layered questions. It wasn't just a simple little thing. You've been doing this since you were a kid. You were playing around with G.I. Joe and then making them talk.
Yeah. And never knew that.
And not even thinking about it. Like, oh yeah, I'm just playing with G.I. Joe, making them talk, because we all did that,
Yeah. So I feel like it was embedded in me. And I just needed something to awaken that sleeper cell on the inside. But yeah, because my mom used to, I grew up watching a lot of public television. So when I wasn't watching cartoons, I was watching public television. And anytime the British people would come on, now I'm walking around the house with this very terrible British accent. Mummy, can I go out to the store and doing all this? She's like, what is wrong with this child? But I didn't know I was actually cultivating and growing something inside of me that now, it's a career. So
that's what's up. I love it. That's amazing. It's so important to be able to think about what led you to where you are now. And I think a lot of people kind of forget that piece about as a child and the innocence of a child, that especially when you start doing things like voiceover, because people don't think about the work it takes to even get to that point. Like people hear a 30-second commercial, don't know it took 4 hours to do, and you have all these different takes, and you were frustrated, and you really throw the microphone. Like they don't know about that.
No, they don't know about that.
Right, you're on your 30 takes. You're like, do I really want to do this? Oh my gosh, really?
So. Yeah, I've done video game sessions where we're in there for 4 hours. And I'm having to yell and scream, all right, you're on fire. And now you're on fire and you just got dismembered. Now you're on fire, you're dismembered, and you got impaled. And each of those sounds have to sound different. And
wait.
Excuse me. It's crazy. Yeah.
So you have to sound like you're on fire and got taken apart and impaled.
And then on top of that, you have dialogue. So, but the way they do it, if your scene has a lot of speaking lines, they'll get all the speaking lines out the way first. And then at the end of the session is where you do all the hollering and screaming because they want to protect your voice. Because if we did that at the beginning, all the hollering and screaming and by the time they want me to talk, I'd be like, oh, so they have to do it at the beginning. But over time you learn how to scream and holler where it's not putting a strain. You can kind of, I'm not going to say fake it, but there's a way you can sound loud without pushing so much. Like if I holler, it's like, but if I go, just make it sound louder, or sometimes you get up close on the mic and pull back like, oh, I'm falling. And because singers been doing that for years. They sing and take the mic, because Luther would do that. He walked by. And so those little tricks You learn how to preserve your voice because, um, when I have long sessions like that, I try not to talk to nobody.
Nobody. Mm-hmm.
I keep tea and honey at my desk at all times because, um, and I drink plenty of water. Uh, because at the end of the day, I turn all this stuff off and I'm just me. I don't even want to talk to y'all. Mm-mm.
Right?
I'm done.
Exactly. No, nobody.
Nope.
I'm good.
Like, hey man, good session. I'm gonna call you later. Nope.
No.
You
Mm-mm.
better
I'm
you better
good.
text me because I'm resting. And you really
Right.
have to rest and recharge your voice for the next day. So
I was actually just going to ask, like, what are some of the remedies that you use to keep your voice healthy?
to be honest, I don't really have a lot of remedies. Here's what I do for 99% of what I do. Uh, I drink a lot of tea, peach tea, peppermint tea, ginger tea. There's this specific tea called throat coat, where it has a bunch of properties in it that keeps the voice warm. Um, Even though I use honey, I don't use a lot of honey because sometimes because honey is sweet, it'll make your mouth water, and you can't do that when you're trying to record. So I use honey sparingly, and sometimes I'll just drink the tea hot with no honey. Like, how you do that? I'm like, because I don't want the the syrupiness of the honey to have me. Our mouths naturally lubricate when we talk, but then, like, if you had a Jolly Rancher or something in your mouth, and your mouth is like really watering because of the sweetness, same thing will happen with the honey. So it's like, let me fall back on the honey. Um, but yeah, tea, water. Um, I try to drink a lot of that. Just during the day, I drink. I get like one of them old mason jars full of water. So I'll kill that and refill it at least a few times a day. Just staying hydrated is the key, even for me, because I'm a cigar smoker. So,
Mm.
but I don't smoke cigars all the time.
Right.
I may smoke once or twice a month, and
Mm.
even right after, like when I get home from the cigar spot, I grab me some tea. Now then I'll use a little honey with it because I know I don't have to speak the next day. And I'll drink that for like two. Because if I go to the cigar spot on a Friday, and now I got Saturday and Sunday to get my voice
Recover.
back, yeah, then Monday I'm good to go. So yeah, just staying hydrated. Avoid dairy when I'm recording because dairy produces mucus. So then you all in your nose, and that ain't good. So dairy and sweets, if you're gonna the day of your recording, don't do it. I don't care
Mm.
if you eat a bacon, egg, and cheese at 8 o'clock and your session's at 10, that mucus is still gonna be in there.
Mm.
Now, if you wait till afterwards, you can do what you want. But
Right.
yeah, you gotta maintain your instrument. Um, Humidifiers around the house, that works. The more moisture in the air that you breathe in. Uh, Make sure your filters are clean in your AC. That helps. Um, and out here in Vegas, it gets very dusty with the winds.
It really
So
does.
I try so I try to avoid not getting any type of artifacts up my nose and throat. When I see it get real windy, I'm like,
Right. Mm-mm.
time to go. So
Right.
but yeah, just I mean it's real simple stuff, and it's just it's a discipline because I can't lose my voice.
Right.
You know,
That's your moneymaker.
that's crazy enough. There were a few jobs where I was sick and I auditioned for something, and they're like, "We never heard you sound like that, but they wanna book you." I'm like, look, I'm real sick, but if y'all want me to sound like a bad guy, I can sound like a
Right.
So it's like,
Exactly.
hey, it worked out. Now they called
That's
back
what's up.
3 days later. I'm like, hey, they're like, why you sound different? Oh, I ain't sick no more. So, but don't mistake that as doing it all the time. Hey, I can record sick. No,
No.
don't do that. I lucked out and it happened. But
Right. I love it. I love it. So, when everything is said and done, what do you want your legacy to be?
when everything is said and done, I want my legacy to be I was a good brother, I was a good son, I was a good husband and father, and I always paid it forward. I think if I can accomplish all of those, anything else I do will be because of that. And as a reflection of that, it just makes me want to be better and do better.
Absolutely. It has been an absolute pleasure getting to know you. I love everything that you're doing, and the specialist is going to be amazing. I cannot wait till it comes out. Make sure that you guys go ahead and support Tre, and make sure that you guys go ahead and contribute to that GoFundMe so we can get the specialist off the ground for sure.
Please, and thank you.
Yes. So go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you, follow you, and most importantly, book you.
My website is my name, TreMosely.com, TreMosley.com, on IG, Twitter, or whatever the hell they're calling it nowadays. It's the same thing as Tre Mosely VO on IG, Tre Mosely VO on Twitter. Even if you're on LinkedIn, you can find me as Tre Mosely on there as well. I am not hard to find. My IMDb page, same name, Tre Mosely. That's TRE, no Y. If you pull up TREY, it's gonna be some dude in Colorado that ain't it. But if you if you type in Tre Mosely or Tre Mosely voice actor, all my info will pop up. You can email me at TRE at TreMosely.com. I also offer coaching sparingly because I don't do a lot of it. But when I do and I'm available, I'll hit you back up. And that's coach me at TreMosely.com. So I ain't hard to find, y'all.
Yes. Thank you so much again. I truly appreciate you.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for the invite. And I'm glad we finally got it to make it happen. So
yes.
It's been all good. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right.
Nexxlegacy.
Are you searching for the perfect gift? Or do you just need a unique statement piece for yourself? Well, either way, Danaya Azure help you out. What you need is the S4S jewelry collection by Danaya Designs for You. S4S stands for strictly for a stage. Stand out at your next photo or video shoot. Snag that magazine cover. Go from being a part-time extra to an actor or actress who stays booked. Or just be the talk of the town at every event. Danaya Designs for You jewelry is handcrafted and Chicago made for men, women, and children. To start your collection, simply go to www.danayaazure.com. That's www.danayaazure.com. That's www.danayaazure.com.
Nexxlegacy.